I need to give full disclosure. I'm a little bit frustrated with David Schaefer, the chairman of the Republican Party, in large part because, well, we had a text exchange yesterday, and it's a private. I'm not going to share our text exchange, but he is very committed to the integrity of the election process, and he's saying that they were shut out of processes by the Secretary of State, particularly signature verification, where you're supposed to be able to oversee the signature verification process. And I got to think, and I really don't mean to be offensive by this, but you've got a Republican governor in the state of Georgia. You have a Republican lieutenant governor in the state of Georgia. You have a Republican Secretary of State in the state of Georgia. You have a Republican in charge of the voter integrity process for the Secretary of State's office. You have a Republican Attorney General in the state of Georgia, Republican Labor Commissioner in the state of Georgia, Republican Insurance Commissioner in the state of Georgia, a Republican Ag Commissioner in the state of Georgia. You've got a Republican Speaker of the House. You've got a Republican State Senate. You've got a Republican State House. You've got 2 Republicans in the United States Senate. You've got a majority of the congressional delegation Republican. That the Republican Party and its chairman gets shut out of a process purportedly by the Republican Secretary of State, who has a committed partisan Republican. I know his voter integrity guy. He's been a long-time Republican in the state of Georgia. To claim that these people are somehow Democrats or in cahoot with Democrats, Gabe Sterling has been a long-time figure in Republican politics in the state of Georgia. To claim that they are in cahoots with the Democrats, or as some people are doing, or to say that they're shutting the Republican Party out of processes, what does that say about the Republican Party in Georgia? That its plaintive cries for help from every Republican in the state is falling on deaf ears. What does it say about the Republican Party of Georgia that 20,000 Republicans voted in the Republican primary and then didn't even show up in the general election? What does that say about the GOP ground game in the state of Georgia? So yes, I very well am annoyed with the Republican Party trying to talk out of both sides of its mouth here in Georgia. On one side, got to praise the Secretary of State, but on the other side, try to stab him in the back to hump the president's leg when the president had the race stolen. He didn't have it stolen from him. We've got to focus on winning the Senate. We got to focus on keeping the Senate out of Chuck Schumer's hands. We got to focus on keeping the Senate away from being able to enact Joe Biden's policies. And I think it is deeply unhelpful of the Republican Party in Georgia to be participating in what amount to attacks on the Republican governor, lieutenant governor, and Secretary of State in the state of Georgia by going along with the BS about the election being stolen in Georgia. Oh, we're only concerned about the election integrity process. Well, you sure weren't picking a fight when they were checking the signatures. Why didn't you go to court then and stand up? It's like the Republican Party in Georgia is trying to abdicate itself from any culpability and responsibility for the president losing the state of Georgia. Why the hell did 20,000 Republicans go vote in the primary and didn't show up in the general, and the Republican Party of Georgia didn't even pay attention to it? Didn't go out and get them absentee ballots? I mean, you literally had 20,000 Republicans vote by absentee ballot in the primary who never bothered to vote in the general election. Who at the Republican Party said, these people voted absentee in the primary. Maybe we should reach out to them and see if they'll vote. Because, it's a public list. It's not like they can keep the list hidden from people. The actual state law in Georgia says you have to provide a list at every local board of elections of everyone who's requested an absentee ballot, and you can challenge those people. Why wasn't the Republican Party challenging them then? Because state law gives them the right to do it. Listen, I don't mean to be savage to David Schaefer and the GOP in Georgia. Actually, to a degree, I do, because I really feel like they're trying to escape blame by throwing Raffensperger and Kemp under the bus, while at the same time pretending they're not throwing Raffensperger and Kemp under the bus because they're the Georgia Republican Party. It'd be really bad if they did, and yet that's essentially what they're doing. They're going out there raising all these goofy claims, conspiratorial nonsense, And what about their culpability in the president losing Georgia? I guess they're emotionally invested in keeping up the ruse of a stolen election, because then people might say, wait a second, why did the Georgia Republican Party screw this up? If you wanted to be a part of the signature verification process and you asked the Republican Secretary of State to be involved and he didn't, why didn't you fight? Why didn't you fight for the president, Georgia Republican Party? Why didn't you go through the counties and review the people who had requested absentee ballots? Because that's the freaking state law. I said freaking state law. They have to publish the list. I mean, that is literally, y'all, it is in the Georgia Code. Let me pull up the section for you just so you don't think I'm making it up. Where is it? I got the excerpt of it somewhere around here. Hang on. I pulled it up the other day and put it out there. And my question has been the whole time, why isn't the Republican Party in the state of Georgia paying attention to this, engaging on this front, as opposed to throwing Raffensperger under the bus, essentially? Or the governor, although a little bit sleight of hand there. And I'm sorry, you can say they're not doing it. Yes, they darn well are trying to throw the governor and the Secretary of State under the bus, talking out of both sides of their mouth, trying to have it both ways, trying to be a team player for Georgia while at the same time trying to abdicate responsibility for themselves. Yes, here it is, state law. Any elector of a county shall be able to challenge any elector who has requested an absentee ballot before 5 p.m. on the day before the election. Why was it, if the Republican Party is so concerned about the absentee ballots in the state of Georgia, why wasn't the Republican Party of the state of Georgia challenging absentee electors? Oh, we were so worried about Stacey Abrams and bringing in the absentee ballots and everybody's getting applications and there was vote fraud in the absentee. You had a chance to go stop it. You had a chance to go see who requested the absentee ballots. The state law gave you the authority to do it, Georgia Republican Party. Why weren't you doing it? Why are you now throwing statewide elected Republicans under the bus, trying to claim a conspiracy to steal the election when you people were asleep at the switch? Stop trying to whip people into a conspiracy theory nonsense when you've got an election to win in January. Stop trying to tell me you care about the integrity of the election process when you were asleep at the switch and weren't challenging the absentee electors like the law gave you. Stop telling me you care about the integrity of the election when you yourselves were able to fight the Secretary of State and demand observers to watch the signature verification process. And they're like, I don't know if they checked the absentee signature verification process. Well, why didn't you sue in court and get an injunction and go? Why didn't you fight it?